Good evening, gentlemen. I'm going to talk today to you about the Gurkha forces which have been part of the Indian Army. Actually, they've had a long and checkered history, and it all started in 1816 when the East India Company was ruling India. At that time, the Ranas of Nepal went into battle with the East India Company, and they gave a very critical account of themselves, and the British had a very tough time in subduing them. From that time onwards, the British were impressed with the fighting prowess of the Gurkha soldiers and became part of the East India Army. And later on, when the Raj came, they were part of the British Indian Army. The Gurkhas were in all about 10 battalions with the British Army, that is the British Indian Army. And in 1947, after the British rule had lapsed, the Indians were keen to continue with the Gurkha regiments. And so a tripart agreement was signed between England, Nepal, and India, in which the British kept 4 battalions out of the 10 and 6 came to India. And as per the agreement, it was decided that the Gurkha soldiers would serve as full-time soldiers in the Indian Army and would get all the benefits, including pay and perks, as given to the Indian soldiers. Now, as far as Nepal is concerned, for the Gurkhas, it's a very lucrative career in the Indian Army because the salary is about 40% more than what they would get in the Nepalese army, and then they get a lifelong pension after serving 15 to 18 years. And if they continue to get the next rank, they can serve even up to the age of 55. So everything was going fine, and as it stands, the Indian Army has got about 40,000 plus Gurkhas in its ranks. But something has happened now, and that is the Agnipath scheme. And this scheme is like a torpedo in India Nepal relations. This scheme envisages that the Nepali soldiers would come and serve for 4 years in the Indian Army and then go back, out of which only 25% would retain for career progression and the others would go home with a small amount of money. Now, Nepal, as I told you, a poor country, and these soldiers going back there are not going to get any job because one of the stipulations of the agreement is that the soldiers, when they retire, they will go back to Nepal and settle down there. Now, the question is a little different now because the Agnipath scheme has been enforced and the Indian Army chief went twice to Nepal to explain the scheme. But the Nepalis have not allowed any recruitment to the Indian Army for the last many months. Earlier, we used to recruit about 1,400 Gurkhas every year into the Indian Army, but that supply has stopped. No Gurkhas are now are being permitted by the Nepalese to join India. Now, it's a very dangerous situation. Dangerous situation in the sense in 62, if you recollect, China had asked for Gurkhas to, and so had Nepal. And at that time, the Nepalese government said no. They said we get an agreement only with India and England, and we'll continue to give soldiers to them. And this is part of a very close relationship which India has with Nepal, as Nepalese citizens are recruited into the Indian armed forces and they serve with distinction. They fought very well even in the Kargil war. But now there is the Agnipath scheme, which was the brainchild, as I told, of General Rawat, and Narendra Modi swallowed the scheme hook, line, and sinker because I'm afraid he's still thinking in the Nehru mold and he was thinking everything in terms of economics. Everything is not economics, you see. Basically, they were saying they want to keep the army young, but the profile of the army is still very young. I mean, the profile of the Indian army is just about 30 against a desirable age of 26. So the profile is not the problem. The problem is that you have to pay a pension, and the Indian government wants to stop paying pension to the soldiers. They feel they should come serve for some time free as patriots and go back with some bits of money here and there. It doesn't happen like that. A soldier is a Kshatriya, a warrior, and he has to be honored. And this is where Mr. Narendra Modi has flunked. That's my sad reading. And generally, the general opinion of all the generals, all the senior officers, or the ex servicemen who have retired and gone, that this scheme is a disaster. And it's already showing its face because we are going to spoil our relations with Nepal. And now the Chinese have been starting a lot of propaganda as to why Nepal should give soldiers to the Indian army and they will fight for India. Now, this is something they can't understand, the Chinese. And there's a good chance that China would recruit one or two battalions of Gurkhas, and then what's India going to do? Nepal, as it is, got a communist regime which is slanted towards China, and this would be another handle which they will use. And I can tell whoever the Indian general staff is, and they know it also, that tomorrow these Gurkhas will be accepted by any army in the world. They are very brave fighters, and if and they are people who are from the hilly region, the mountainous region in Nepal, and they are adept fighters. So the net result is going to be that India will be fighting its own friend in time to come. That means I use the word friend because the Gurkhas are friends. They've been with the Indian army for over 200 years. And in one stroke, Mr. Narendra Modi and General Rawat destroyed that trust which was there between the Nepalese and the Indians. I think it's a very serious matter. There's a call for a rethink. As I've already said, everything is not economics ki kitni pension deni hai and all that. That is a very small point. India has to fight for itself, fight for its influence politically. And you are facing China, which has an economy of about 18 to 20 trillion dollars, and we are one sixth of that. And our influence globally also is low compared to China. And we are going to lose a big ploy which we had with Nepal if we're going to stop recruitment of Gurkhas. As I've told you, we have about 40,000 plus Gurkhas in the Indian army, and not a single Gurkha has joined in the last few months from Nepal. That means there's no fresh blood coming in, and very soon the Gurkha regimental centers are going to be empty. And I don't know how Mr. Narendra Modi thinks about it, because everything is not honky dory the way you think it. And we must remember that you may be a great man, but it requires only one episode to pull you down. You remember Napoleon Bonaparte had Saturn in his 12th horoscope, that is the Napoleonic house. And despite all the victories which he won, it was one battle, that was the Battle of Waterloo, that proved his downfall. So this is a dangerous situation as far as I am concerned. And the next soldier, I feel, one must think about it, the Agnipath scheme, shelve it, and we must see to it that the Gurkhas continue to be part of the Indian army. But I don't know whether Mr. Modi is thinking on these lines or no. I will close now and say, gentlemen, Jai Hind, glory to India. Do subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and come back for more. Goodbye.